All right. So at what point did you decide to just open up your own shop completely
So
from
that
your
was
wife?
after I had my daughter and my firstborn, and I moved back to New Jersey. And I really didn't want to open my own practice right away because I wanted a second child. And so I went around to all the chiropractors to be like, "Hey, would you like to an associate?" Da da da. But they were not practicing the way I wanted to. So I just had to do it myself. And I had an 18-month-old on my hip, and it was hard to figure all that out. Phone lines. I had to do a build out. I had to take a loan. I went to there's like a small business association out of the community college here where it's like it's called SCORE. I don't know if you've heard of it,
I
but
have. I've used Score.
yeah. So like I went to them with like my big stack of my business plan. I went to every single bank in my town and none of them gave me a loan. They were all like, "You have a good history of being able to be a producer in Florida. So that does not translate to New Jersey. You have zero track record of making money in New Jersey." So every big bank denied our loan. So I took money from our wedding. I took a little financial contribution from my family members, and that's how I started my first practice.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah. And that's really interesting because a lot of people they do think the only place you're getting a loan from is the bank, but more people that I've talked to, they get their loans from family members and friends or,
Yeah.
something that they had to sell or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting turn of events, how you had to acquire money to do that. And so as far as the financial position you were in when this all started, your husband was working, right?
Yeah.
So at least you had an income coming in.
Income.
And then for you to get started, you still had to come up with that base money to get yourself going.
Yeah, I had to get a build out going. I had to buy software. I had to buy computers. I had to
Yep.
buy tables. I had to buy all the different combo care units. And in the beginning, like my tools, I would take from room to room with me, like a traveling bag of tricks because I didn't afford. And now I have tools in every room. But like in the beginning, I didn't have that. So I would just like unplug my tools and bring them into the next room and plug them back into that room.
Yep. Now, what area in New Jersey do you practice in, and why'd you pick that area?
So we moved back to Flemington, New Jersey, which is where my husband's from. So it's in central West New Jersey. It's really farmy and lots of land and a lot of organic produce. And it really feels more like Virginia when you're out here than New Jersey. But you're an hour from New York City, you're an hour from Philly. And it's just a really great place to raise children. Like I was really looking at schools. I was looking at just the quality of living. And Flemington was great. My parents had moved from where I grew up in Staten Island, New York, to Somerset. So they were also in New Jersey. So his family was in New Jersey. My family was in New Jersey. It just seemed like a good place to be.
Great. Now, did the demographics factor in, or did you just like living there and you just decided, this is where I want to be, so this is where I'm practicing?
That's right. That's right. I knew from commuting from Delray Beach to Davie, Florida, I did not want to commute for work. So I live 5 minutes from my office.
That's fantastic.
It's
That's really
fantastic,
good.
but when you go to your grocery store, it's like you see everybody. It's like you got, this patient on this aisle, this patient in this aisle, the guy behind the counter is cutting your meat, you know who that is. And I love that community feel. But if you're trying to be incognito, it won't work for you.
Yeah, yeah. It's very difficult to do that. I find that they love being involved in your life. They want to know what book you read. They want to know what stuff you buy. They ask you questions about absolutely everything. And
Everything.
it's definitely invasive, but it's also when you get used to it, it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Endearing.
So we talked about how you built up yourself in Florida. How'd you approach that? You did like the score and you did a women's group in
Yep.
Jersey, that kind of stuff. All of
Did
that
the
was really
Chamber
how
of
you built your
Commerce
practice.
as well. Like the Chamber of Commerce would have like meet and greets and card clubs. And there was also different types of like expos that the Chamber of Commerce would put on. So like having a table and doing a bunch of, posture assessments, going to different places where because now you're in that town. So like in our town, there's like these big centers where all the kids go to do their sports. So like asking them, hey, can I put some information out? Hey, if you're having a camp, can I put a table up and show people, what I do, and just becoming a community member,
Mhm.
volunteering for things like being part of the wellness workforce, which is like part of the chamber. So like I volunteered my time to be part of that. And then you just know the good connections. Like, you know who the president of the chamber is. And when they're like, is somebody saying, hey, I need a chiropractor, they're like, oh, I just met a chiropractor. So it's just really about like putting your name out. And like I did it in the beginning, like guerrilla warfare, like went up and down the main streets and said, can I put brochures and cards in here? Can I put brochures and cards in here? Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm a local chiropractor. It's nice to meet you. Can I leave some brochures and cards in here? You know, because if they don't have the information, they're not going to come seek you out. If you're new, if you have a million Google reviews telling you how great you are, people are going to come see you. But if you are just starting out, you've got to like the proverbial like shake hands and kiss babies. Like you have to, or else nobody's going to know about you.
Yeah, and very good point. Now, was there any of that stuff that worked really well, surprisingly, or any of that stuff that didn't work at all? What would you have done again? What would you do more of?
So I found one of the things that worked best was direct speaking engagements. So when I was in Boca Raton, it was during the whole like Bernie Madoff stuff and like all that like Ponzi scheme stuff. And so I called banks directly to their HR. So first question you have to do is ask questions they can't say no to, saying like, hey, can I talk to HR? No. It's like, hi, I'm Lindsay. I am looking for the director of HR. Can you help direct my call? Because they can't say no to directing your call. But if they say, can I speak to the head of HR? No. Are they expecting your call? No, you can't talk to them. So can you help direct my call? Well, why are you calling? I'm calling because I give stress reduction workshops. I let people know how to handle stress with holistic measures. And then I give a 45-minute talk on what stress is, how to overcome stress. And then it all comes back to chiropractic. You have to sleep right. You have to eat right. You have to have a properly functioning nervous system. You have to do the things that we know as chiropractors you do day in and day out. But by being in front of a group of people who were stressed out, I would bring a massage therapist with me to do chair massages. Everybody would circle through chair massages as I'm speaking to them about the benefits of holistic living on stress reduction policies, which all related back to why chiropractic care gives you optimal results for functionings of the nervous system.
That was a great idea, bringing a massage therapist. I never
Yeah.
did that to a lecture, but that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. And then I usually do like something for them where everybody who came today and took time out of their busy schedule to focus on learning about stress reduction, I'm going to enter you into free 1 hour massage in my office. And now you've got a client list of their names and their phone numbers. So not that I did a bait and switch, but I'd call the winner. Congratulations, you're the winner. But then I'd call all the non-winners. Hey, good news. We're still here. I can provide you with massage. Bad news, you didn't win the massage. Just wanted to let you know that we really appreciate you to listen to our talk. If you need anything in the future, this is where I'm located. And to get a personal phone call from somebody after you just saw them as like a lecturer, people felt like, oh, wow, she really cares. Like she really persevered until the task was completed and gave us that elite customer service. So that
Now,
we
that is a really, really well thought out approach. So did you learn that from somewhere, or did you just come up with that on your own?
I was like, I have these leads. Why throw them in the garbage?
Amen. That's
Yeah.
good. A lead is a lead. And
Mhm.
did you stop at one call? Did you call a few times?
Yeah, I'm not a big multiple call person. If like, my energy is sacred. If you're going to say yes, you're gonna say yes right away. If you're not gonna say yes, you're not for me.
I love that. That's fantastic because I'm exactly like that. And I don't like, one of the things I remember, there was a time, long time ago, where a telemarketing company approached me and they said, they said, we guarantee you 10 leads every month. I said, okay, if you answer one question, I'll say yes and give you a trial. What, why do I hang up on you people every time you call? And they're like, I don't quite know how to answer that. I'm like, okay, so, if you're annoying me at dinner, then you're annoying people at dinner. And I would have to take on a patient that's willing to be annoyed at dinner. So I don't really want that kind of patient. And that was that. But, all these little things come into effect. I just can't stand harping on people. And if they do say yes, they say yes right away.
Yeah. And the other thing, like, I am also not a big fan of the reactivation phone calls. Like, if I'm calling a patient, it's because I actually care about them and I want to know how they're feeling, not because I want to get them back on my schedule.
Well,
You
isn't
know?
that what everybody wants? They want to be cared about genuinely.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
a good thing. And when they do need you again, and they will,
Yeah.
then there they are.
Right.
That's great.